Thank you so much, Tenzin, for the warm welcome. It's so nice to see you all here. Can you hear me okay? The microphone is very big. It's very large here. So, Yangdren La, thank you so much for inviting me. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a while, is introducing, acquainting the Tibetan community, teaching them more about Tibetan medicine. And I am still learning myself. I was first exposed as a patient in Dharamsala at the Mensikang, 2015. And I slowly became curious and had the opportunity and good connections and good fortune to learn from many wonderful Tibetan doctors, including Yangdren and Lobsang La here, and their teachers and many others. And it worked out to be able to offer this course on Tibetan medicine and Tibetan Buddhism at San Francisco State University, where I teach students. So I wanted to offer some of this kind of Tibetan Medicine 101 to give you some theoretical background. I'm just curious, how many high school students are here? They're high school students? Wow, okay, wonderful. So glad you're here. And college students? Any college students? Okay, wonderful. And then just people from the community, kind of Tibetan, okay, wonderful. And how many people have taken Tibetan medicine before? So many of you have, okay, great. So like the little round pills, right? That taste really yummy. Right, really good. So I wanted to provide some foundational understanding of the rationale, the theoretical underpinnings of this medical tradition and how we can apply it to our own lives today. I wanted to share a little bit about the origins of Tibetan medicine so we can understand its ancient roots, where it came from, and then I'll introduce some of the theory. And then all of you have this self-assessment form, right? We'll have an opportunity to fill it out later, but this is so you can really apply it to your own life, to who you are as an individual, empower yourself in your own self-care. And it's wonderful to be able to learn this stuff while you're young, so you can apply it for the rest of your life and to stay healthy and balanced. So we'll be talking about this self-assessment as we go through. So I just wanted to show a map here of Tibet in context in relationship to other countries in the world. And you can see these red lines and these blue lines, and they indicate the Silk Roads. You may have heard of this term before, these ancient tradeways connecting Western Mediterranean countries like Greece, all the way over to China and down into Southeast Asia, into India, into Persia, and also Tibet. Tibet was a part of this system of knowledge that exchanged ideas about health and herbs and philosophy. Even though Tibet was relatively isolated, they were still connected, particularly to China and India. Yangdren always likes to say Tibet is like the middle of a sandwich between India and China. And in terms of history, has anyone heard of King Chusong Detsen before? This kind of ancient Dharma king, okay, who is really credited with establishing Tibet as a great kingdom. And he supported the Buddhism of Tibet and brought scholars from India to Tibet to create the Tibetan language and translate the Buddhist teachings into Tibetan language and culture. He was also really interested in the medicine, the latest knowledge of healing traditions. And so he convened a large international medical conference in Tibet in the 8th century. And we hear the term integrative medicine today, like it's kind of the leading cutting edge term where we take like the best from all traditions, from modern biomedicine to ancient traditional cultures. So Tibetan medicine was actually thinking along these lines 1,200 years ago. They were an integrative medicine community and approach. They invited across the world the best medicine doctors and scholars of the day, including the indigenous tradition of Tibet, the Bön tradition, We have the Ayurvedic, the ancient Indian medical system represented. We have the Chinese medicine system that many of us are familiar with today in acupuncture, and also the ancient Greek and Persia medical systems, all informed the Tibetan medicine.
Sorry, I'm going to turn off the sound because the complete sound is where's the... Where's the cursor? Oh, yeah. Wow, I don't know what's happening.
So we can see. Okay, I think that.
No, it's not actually gone, to be honest, because... Oh, you can continue. I'm sorry, so sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is not working.
I think, is the sound, do you still hear the sound? Yeah, the sound is gone.
I removed the thing, that's why it's gone. Okay. It'll take me like less than 2 hours. Yeah, like... The handlebar does not work for some reason.
Your sounds. That's input. Or that's
Yeah, I'm just
output.
gonna... No, for now. Just wanted to mute it.
Is it from your computer?
Yeah.
Oh, here, you can do this. Here.
It's done now. Oh, it's still coming.
Yeah, can you go up? Is it setting again? Go to output. There we go.
Why is this volume not working?
Oh, there we
Okay. Noise cursor. I'm so sorry. Oh, wait. Okay, it should work.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so do you get this microphone?
Okay. Oh, is this I should use this? Or it's another?
No, that's the record
Okay.
for the camera.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All
Sorry
right.
for calling.
So, let's see. I think the microphone is.
I got you. I turned it off.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for your patience here. So we're back in ancient Tibet in the 8th century. King Trisan Detsen brought together all these leading scholars from all parts of the world. And at the center here is Yutok Yonten Gampo, known as the Elder. And he's the one who compiled all the teachings to take the best of the best and established an early version of a medical text. This text, by legend, was hidden in a pillar until the 10th century, and then later, a later incarnation of Yutok Yonten Gampo, known as the Junior, discovered this text. And you can see the ancient pages, the Tibetan text here on the left and on the right, the English edition, just published in 2008. This is known as the Gushi, the Four Medical Tantras. It's the primary medical text. There's many other commentaries used, but Tibetan medicine students will need to memorize this volume. Memorize, like daily exams. It's very stressful for the students, but I think that's what's allowed the medical system to really thrive. over time is just the excellent memory of the students and the doctors not needing to rely on the written word all the time. As Yangdren mentioned, Tibetan medicine is referred to as Sowa Rigpa. This is known as the science of healing. Dr. Nita Chenasang, a doctor, another Tibetan doctor, also translates this from a more spiritual side as nourishing awareness. So we can say this word together just to have it roll off our tongues. Sowa, Rigpa. Sowa Rigpa. Okay, awesome. Science of healing. So why Tibetan medicine today? Why is this ancient medical system that's been around for thousands of years, why would it be helpful for us today? Any responses? Any ideas? Why are you here? Why would you like to learn about Tibetan medicine?
Western medicine always don't have the answers.
Okay, thank you. Western medicine doesn't always have the answers. We don't always get better. Other? Jess?
Western medicine is too expensive for the healthcare system.
Okay, it can be very expensive.
Western medicine focuses on just the problem and not the whole big picture and lifestyle wellness.
Okay, it's more focused on narrow treatments and not overall wellness lifestyle.
Like in the past, like they're more familiar with like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, but I don't know much about Tibetan medicine, so I'm just curious.
Just to be curious. Okay, thank you. These are all really excellent reasons. So many of you talked about these gaps in our Western healthcare system, also relying on big pharmaceutical companies. And also people report a sense of not connecting with their doctors. It feels very impersonal, very bureaucratic. There's not enough time. And there's a longing to really be seen and understood. So some of the benefits, I think why people are drawn to Tibetan medicine, because it's natural medicine. With fewer side effects. We like the herbal medicines. Also because it's really individualized and tailored to each person. We're all unique. We're all made of the 5 elements, but in different compositions. So Western medicine often has a one-size-fits-all based on the scientific method of randomized controlled trials of which treatment is best for people on average. Well, who is average? You know, we're all different, we're all unique. So this is one of the strengths of Tibetan medicine. And it also focuses on the whole of our lives, our whole lifestyle, not just physical symptoms we're reporting, but, you know, what is your family relationship like? Are you stressed at work? Are you seeing your friends socially? Are you getting enough exercise? Are you meditating? So it's addressing all of the aspects of our life. As Dr. Yangdren likes to say, Menpa, medicine, can mean anything. Anything potentially has the potential to put us into healing and balance. It also has a strong mind-body connection. It recognizes how our emotions shape our physiology and our health. And really looking to the doctor as a friend, as a confidant, as a source of support is a really important part of the healing process that's very explicitly acknowledged in Tibetan medicine, is only recently being appreciated in Western medicine, sometimes known as the placebo effect. But here it's an active ingredient. So Tibetan medicine has certain similarities with Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, but one of its unique aspects is its underlying Buddhist philosophy. It's essentially a spiritually based healthcare system. And so the philosophy, the insights of Buddhism inform the understanding of disease and treatment. Traditionally, monks, and still today, were trained as physicians, being a doctor is considered part of one's spiritual practice. So one can practice to help others, but also to refine one's spiritual qualities. And so this could really be helpful to prevent burnout, where we know burnout among our doctors and nurses is very high in Western medicine. So just as one example of how Buddhism informs Tibetan medicine, in the Gushi, we talk about one of the ultimate cause of disease. Often we think, our diet, our lifestyle, but Buddhism and Tibetan medicine goes back even further to our basic misunderstanding regarding the nature of ourselves and reality. It's our misunderstanding of our sense of self as separate from the world that we need to protect, that induces the sense of me versus other, that causes disturbing emotions to arise, such as confusion, desire, and anger. These are known as the 3 poisons. Does this sound familiar to anyone, the 3 poisons? Okay, so we can actually begin to link them to the energies in our body. Is the screen disappearing? Does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, it like blinks on my end here. So here is one of the many trees that depicts the teachings of Tibetan medicine. This is known as the Tree of Health and Disease, and I think there is a Tibetan medicine book over here. Thanks, she's holding it up, and so you can look at this in more detail. And so the students would actually be drawing out these trees as a way to help them memorize the teachings. So everything has meaning. The trunks, the branches, and the leaves all signify particular meaning. So we're going to be learning about this Tree of Health and Disease today. So what is health from a Tibetan medicine perspective? Interestingly, from a Western science perspective, there's not such a clear understanding all the time. It's usually defined as the absence of disease. We're really good at defining diseases, but we're not really good at defining health. So Tibetan medicine is very clear at the outset that this is about balancing, having a sense of balance in one's life and one's mind and body. And so disease is imbalance, a state of imbalance from subtle to more gross. And treatment is a process of rebalancing, coming back into balance, or we could say back into homeostasis, to use a more Western science perspective. So what is it that we're balancing? Yangdren talked about the 5 energies. The 5 elements. We can think about this as a basic life energy force that has 5 qualities. So we talked a little bit about what these are. Do you remember them? Earth, water, fire, thank you, air, and space. Okay, so the earth is the principle of stability and structure. We can think about our bones, our muscles, our tissues. This is the earth element represented. It's not just a physical element, but it's the principle of stability and structure. Water is the principle of moisture and cohesion. Blood, saliva, urine, right? What else? Our tears, right? This is the principle of water, or the cytoplasm in our cells. Fire, the principle of transformation or maturation. We can think about digestion, being able to cook our food in our bellies, to transform it into nutrients and excrete the waste. Air, the element of air is the principle of movement. Something that's moving is our breath and our lungs, but also our nervous system, right? Our circulatory, our cardiovascular system is also moving. Space. Space isn't technically an element, but it gives the context that allows all these other elements to arise, and so therefore it's included. So we have space in our body. We need space in our blood vessels, for example, for blood to flow through. If blood cannot pass through the arteries, what happens? We get plaques, right? We get heart disease and heart attacks, etc. So we need space. We need space in our minds, right? Even our computers need space. Right? And so these 5 elements is a way of looking at the world. We can put on our 5 element glasses and start to see everything as a composition of the 5 elements, from our body to mental states, to the nature of our relationships, our work, our sleep, our diet. The foods are understood in terms of the 5 elements, even the seasons. Today do we have a lot of fire in the atmosphere today? Which element is predominant? We have a lot of kind of water, right? And even wisdom at the most subtle level. We can talk about the 5 wisdoms, the 5 representing the 5 elements in terms of wisdom. So these 5 elements, and once these energies are incorporated into our bodies, they're known as the 3 nepas. Can you say nepa? Okay, so this is a word that's translated as fault, but that just means because it's something that can go out of balance and cause us suffering or disease. So nepas are the dynamic vital energies of the mind and body that help to maintain homeostasis. So Yangdren mentioned lung. So the air element in our body is lung. Can you say lung? Okay. And tipa is the fire element in our body. Can you say tipa? Okay. And then the earth and water elements get combined into becken. Can you say becken? Okay. So lung, tipa, and becken, these are our new best friends, okay, for the next few hours and hopefully lifelong. So just a little bit about these functions, the functions of the lung energy in our bodies, the qualities, the specific technical terms is that the lung energy has the quality of being light, moving, dry, rough, hard, cool, and subtle. So this governs our circulatory systems, our respiration, our muscles, our urinary and bowel movements, the nervous system, and thought itself. So we can think about our minds being rough if we're feeling really stressed, right? We can think about our skin being dry. It has some lung qualities to it, okay, or rough. So the tipa nepa governs metabolism, digestion, temperature regulation, liver function, and skin complexion. So these qualities of tipa are that it's hot, like fire. It's also light, like air, but it's also slightly oily and sharp, smelly. You can think about when things burn, they can become smelly. If you work out, you might start smelling a little bit. That's a sign of your tipa. And liquid, as things kind of burn and melt, they can liquefy. And then purgative, expulsing from the body. So tipa is our metabolic heat, our metabolic fire that gives rise to our metabolism, our digestive fire, how well we can digest food. We say we are what we can digest, not just what we can eat, right? And our temperature regulation, etc. So the last one, the becken, the earth and water. The qualities of becken are that it's cold, it's heavy, it's oily, it's stable, thick, smooth, and blunt. So the becken is governing our physical structure and anatomy, our joints, our lubrication of our joints. It helps to provide moisture and smooth skin, lubrication, and helps us fall asleep. Okay, so it's this kind of heavy quality. So these are dynamic energies that we all have. We wouldn't be alive if we didn't all have lung, tipa, and becken functioning within us. But what's interesting is that we all have different proportions of them. Some of us may be more lung dominant, where we can think about our constitution as a phenotypic expression of our genetic code in some ways. So the Tibetan doctors are kind of assessing our genetic code through observing our phenotypes at the anatomical level, at the psychological level, and the physiological level. So this worksheet that you have is starting to kind of ask you all these different questions to get a sense of what's dominant for you in your constitution. More lung energy, more tipa energy, or more becken energy. Some of us have a double constitution where we have about equal proportions of lung and tipa energy, for example, and less becken energy. So just as we have, different trees, some are tall and thin, some are short, right? And round. Some need more sun, some need more shade, just so we differ as individuals, okay? And so doctors will be taking into account your basic constitution when they're diagnosing you. But this isn't to say that we're all trying to be like equally balanced, like the triple constitution here, like we're trying to have equal proportions of all three. No, if you were born with more lung energy, then we're trying to honor, what your mother gave you. And knowing, okay, you have certain needs that are different from someone who has more of a Tipa constitution. This is an example of some body types based on constitution. So we can see with the lung type, this person is tall and thin, lean muscles, kind of pointy facial features, maybe thin hair, soft hair, drier skin, may have a tendency for lighter sleep or insomnia. On the opposite end, we can see the difference with the Becken constitution. This person is shorter, has a rounder facial features, right, has strong bones, tends to be heavier set. It's easier for them to gain weight, slower metabolism, okay, easy for them to retain fluid, soft, supple skin, thicker hair, okay, thick lips, and they're really good sleepers, okay. The Tipa, and so you can see if you start to recognize qualities of yourself or other people. Tipa is strong and muscular. They're somewhat in the middle in terms of their stature. They're well proportioned, thicker skin, thicker hair, and they can sleep pretty well in between Lung and Becken. Okay. So you with me so far? Is it making sense? Okay. So I wanted to give you a little description of kind of characteristics of people who have a predominant Lung constitution, okay, when they're in balance and when it's in excess. So Yangdren mentioned that sometimes things can go out of balance. So just like the weather, we can have a nice kind of summer day with not much wind or just a slight breeze, but then we can have like very strong winds and like tornadoes. So same internally, we can have very strong winds happening in our body. So some characteristics for people who have a strong Lung constitution, and we will all have some of these, but these people tend to be very creative and imaginative. They're sensitive emotionally and to the environment around them. They're very curious and open to new experiences. When the Lung is in excess, when it's starting to be like a tornado in your mind, then we can have feelings of anxiety, fear, insecurity. So a sense of like a lack of feeling grounded, right? So a lack of earth energy, emotional ups and downs, highs and lows. It can be hard to focus attention, to focus in school, to learn, to remember what you learned. And maybe, if you have those friends where you make an appointment to be somewhere and then they're kind of always late, so kind of unreliable at times can happen if someone has a lot of wind. So here's some physical symptoms that people might report. They might report irregular eating and sleeping patterns. They're just very spontaneous and their schedule is very different every day. They go to sleep, go to bed at different times. They might forget to eat. Their digestion might vary as a consequence. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad and sensitive. Their circulation can be poor sometimes. They might have cold hands and feet. They might have muscle tensions, especially if they're feeling anxious or stressed in their shoulders or their back. And typically, pain can start in the lower parts of the body from the hips on down, like knees and ankles, kind of movement-oriented pains. Dry skin, feeling constipated, so again, a lack of the water element. Not much sweat, and can be a hard time falling asleep. So these are some examples of diseases that people can have with a strong Lung constitution. They could be diagnosed with anxiety disorder, any kind of mind-body disorder. So oftentimes Western medicine has a hard time treating these people with conditions with a psychosomatic component. So Tibetan medicine can be very good for these conditions. Neurological conditions, we can think about ADHD, Parkinson's disease, restless leg syndrome, and cardiovascular conditions. So the Tipa, people who have predominant Tipa energy, they have lots of fire. Right? So they are ambitious, they are leaders, they are good speakers. I think as some of our speakers already spoke earlier today, we can see their strong Tipa energy in action. They're very intelligent, they're analytical, they're sharp, so you can think of like a sharp fire, right, that can see clearly and cut through, okay? But too much fire, right, can rage, out of control like a firestorm, okay? That can unleash feelings of being overly competitive, quick temper, angry, kind of impatient, losing your temper a little bit, tending to get irritable under stress, and premature aging, because that fast metabolism, you might see premature graying, men losing their hair earlier, etc. So strong Tipa people will have a strong appetite. They can eat a lot. They can digest food quickly. They might go to the bathroom several times a day. They might tend to have oilier skin or hair. They might break out in acne. They're warm-bodied. They're wearing shorts, on a day like this and thinking nothing of it. They tend to sweat easily. And so they are really irritable when it's hot outside. They like to be in cool places. Okay. So Tipa imbalance can be connected to fevers, acute inflammation or chronic inflammation, skin disorders like eczema or acne, some types of acid reflux, some migraine headaches, and digestive disorders like IBS or Crohn's disease and liver disease will have a strong Tipa component. Okay, so the last example I wanted to mention is people who have a strong Becken constitution. These people, heavy in earth and water, right? They're chill, they're patient, they're kind, they're relaxed. They don't get, out of balance easily. It takes a lot to upset them. They're a good friend. They're someone you want to go on a road trip with. They are not the brightest bulb in the pack. They're not like the most intelligent, but they have a good memory. So they have think of like an elephant, good long-term memory. In excess, too much earth and water, okay? Especially on a day like this, they just want to kind of cozy up inside and maybe take a nap on the couch and maybe not do their homework, but kind of procrastinate. And they kind of go along with the group. They can tend to conform easily. They're not so much in tune with what they want to do in life and kind of sticking out. They more want to fit in. So these people with slower metabolism, they start to feel cold. They have slower blood circulation, slower digestion. They have a regular appetite, but they can have trouble digesting their food. They might experience belching or gas or bloating, and softer stools. Might have stomach pains after they eat and seek medical help for that. They have a strong stamina. They might not like to exercise, but it's really good for them. And they're good sleepers. They might sleep too much. So they can be, in terms of diseases, prone to obesity, type 2 diabetes. They might have a sweet tooth. Excess growth in the body, like tumors or cysts. And fluid accumulation in the legs, like edema. And plaque buildup in the arteries, causing risk for cardiovascular disease. So that's a little overview of the three NEPAs, and I just wanted to highlight this study that was linking the Nepas, or in Sanskrit they're known as doshas in Ayurvedic medicine. There's some similarities and some differences, but in the context of Ayurveda, these were correlated with genetic markers. So this is really mixing the best of Western science with traditional medicine and showing some correlation. So this is exciting for future research. And this was published in in Nature, in one of the best medical journals in the world. Yangdren talked a little bit about how doctors will assess the 3 Nepas. They need to look at your tongue, they need to look at your urine and check your pulse. This is what they're doing. They're looking at the balance of the 3 Nepas in your body. So now you have some understanding, right, of why the doctors say, oh, let me see your tongue, or let me see your urine, okay? And then they will ask you lots of questions. So it's not just your constitution. I want to make that clear. The doctors are looking at lots of factors when they're treating you. They're looking at where the pain is in your body, the chief complaints, what season it is, the environment, how old you are, what your digestion is like, what your overall lifestyle like, and how much vigor you have. So let's see, I'm going to skip forward to some slides here. And I wanted just to share a little bit about the lifestyle guidelines for Lung, Tipa, and Becken, things to keep in mind. So the first part of the questionnaire you have is diagnosing your constitution, and the second part is once you know your dominant constitution, you can think about some of these lifestyle recommendations. And so these are some examples. For Lung people, staying in a warm environment is helpful for overall health. And a pleasant place, being with good friends. For Tipa, staying in a cool place, a calm environment. For Becken, staying in a warm place. So living more in the East Bay than in San Francisco, for example. Maybe Tipa might want to live near the fog, right? And Becken on the dry place, so like the desert. Or just keeping the house warm. So in the free time, some suggestions for lifestyle. Really being with your friends. When we feel anxious, don't isolate, don't just be on your phone, but really reach out for connection and support. This is medicine. This isn't a pharmaceutical drug you need to take. You just need to connect with your friends and loved ones. Gardening. For Tipa, relaxing and reading in their free time. They can go, so it's important to build in breaks and take rests. For Becken, they can just get up and walk anytime. Their tendency is to not want to exercise, so getting them moving is really balancing for them. Exercise recommendations are not all the same. As we hear in the West. For Lung types, doing a lot of strong hot yoga or marathons, they might want to do that and be ambitious, but it can kind of burn them out. They don't really have the stamina. So more gentler, soothing types of exercises like yoga or walking. Tipa, for example, since they run hot, swimming, doing things like yoga. Becken can do the weightlifting, the long distance, the vigorous yoga type of exercises. Different recommendations for meditation. Lung tends to kind of have big plans and ideas and grasp. It's connected to desire. So really doing calming breathing practices and focusing on the nature of impermanence and change, being able to let go. Tipa, prone to anger, focusing on loving kindness, even anger towards oneself, so self-compassion. Becken, mindful movement like yoga, mindful walking exercises can be recommended for them. We can have different prescriptions for sleep. Lung, lots of air, so they need the most sleep. They need to come down to the ground and sleep. Don't feel bad about taking 8 to 9 hours of sleep. For Tipa, somewhere in the middle, 7 to 8 hours. For Becken types, they need less sleep. They can actually have more energy by sleeping less. Okay, so physical work, Becken can do a lot. Lung needs to take it easier because they can burn out more easily, and then Tipa somewhere in the middle. So in terms of overall regular lifestyle for Lung type, having a balanced schedule of eating and sleeping is important. For Tipa, eating and resting, and for Becken, overall physical activity. So that is just a little overview to really introduce this self-assessment, and we're going to have some time for you to fill it out. It has been validated against the Tibetan doctor. There's been some initial research showing that people who first learn a little bit about Tibetan medicine and then complete it, it tends to be more accurate. And so what you would do, you would answer each characteristic, the one that best applies to you. So in terms of like my height, it's short, it's average, or above average. And circling, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just one column per characteristic. And then at the end, you add up each column. So you get 3 scores. And then you divide by the total, and then you can get a sense of your overall constitution type. And I can leave this up here when you have a chance to fill that out. Okay. So, yeah, exactly. So definitely we age, when we're young, we tend to be more Becken. We're kind of chubby and, lots of snot and runny nose and all of that. And then middle life, from like our early 20s to 75 is Tipa, right? And then we start to kind of get dry, right? So age is a factor, and also just your personality can change, So when you fill it out, yeah. So the first time I would suggest fill it out how you are in general across your life. Try to get a sense of not just in the last month or 6 months, but how you are in general as a person, to get a sense of your overall baseline constitution. Then if you want to fill it out a second time of how you are these days, then you can see what that looks like. Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was younger and when I'm now. Yeah. Yeah. And so this is just to say I teach this to my students from all different backgrounds. They have found it really valuable learning about their constitution. 76% it was very helpful. And 55% it was helpful to make lifestyle changes. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned a little bit. Yeah, thank you. So we can have 10 minutes or so to fill out the constitution, and then if you have questions, we can come around and answer questions. Bitter. So why are they bitter? Yeah, so it's a question about the herbs.
Okay, so how about we save this during the panel? Then we will answer, and we have panel discussion coming up soon. Thank you, Jennifer. Great job.
Thank you, Dr. Okay. So next, we'll be transitioning into a panel discussion. But before that, we're going to be hearing from 3 very special guests. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today, but we're going to be hearing from them through video. So the first guest we have is Dr. Namdu. Dr. Namdu is a graduate from Metzakang Tibetan Medical and Astrological College in Dharamsala and has a PhD from Emory University in Atlanta.
Tamotrastile Doriano Gisala Tane and Kiranzo de Pevig Shunge Nyamdo and Pevig Rishunda Devik and Shungeta Rishu Palani Jawa country over the Degala Kiranzo with the Kamuna and the Galanitane and the Chinikisi Kovna Tujiche. So I'm really grateful that you thought of me to come and say a few words for this particular event that you are doing for Tibetan youth. You send me a few questions, and if I respond to 2 or 3 of them, given the time that we have, The first one, I think, is about why I pursued PhD in medical anthropology after being trained in Tibetan medicine and having practiced Tibetan medicine for some time in India and other parts of the world. So for me, I've always believed that for a system like Tibetan medicine, which is not only complex, but also very much relatable in today's time, and more so for the health issues that we are seeing, chronic health conditions, lifestyle disorders. And I think Tibetan medicine has huge potential to contribute. And so for me, I wanted to be formally trained in Western research methodology. And so when I first moved to the US to go back to school, I was very much sure at the time that I wanted to study public health, but I wasn't too sure about anthropology. But while taking some of the courses in anthropology, I realized that it could be such a good fitting to study. And so studying anthropology gave me a strong realization because anthropology is very holistic, similar to Tibetan medicine. Anthropology looks at all these different components of human behavior, human adaptations. For instance, something like we're looking at the archaeology, looking at the biological components, looking at the cultural components, as well as linguistic, different kinds of symbols and language that are being humans have used. So anthropology looks at all these different components of human being to study human. And Tibetan medicine does the same thing, right? When we provide care to a patient, we look at this whole component grounded in the interaction between mind and body. And so after taking a couple of courses in anthropology, it was a natural kind of a shift in my mindset that once I get done with my undergrad, my master's in public health, I wanted to go into graduate school and study anthropology with focus on medical anthropology. And it has served me very well until now. The other one, I think, which I can respond to is if I would advise the same career path that I have taken to any Tibetan youth who have such interests, I would say certainly yes. But I really would emphasize that it depends upon an individual's career choices, interests, passion, because studying Tibetan medicine for 6 years and then going to a graduate school, which would be after undergrad of 4 years, which would be another 6 or 7 years. So it's a pretty long and tedious commitment and academic pursuance. But I would say that we are at a time right now that the focus on integrative medicine, focus on bringing different medical modalities in caring for population that we are serving, and Tibetan medicine can make a huge contribution. And also the other thing is taking some courses in Tibetan medicine. Like for instance, we have a Tibetan Healing Initiative at the University of Minnesota, where we offer 3 academic courses. We also take one of the courses, we take students to Dharamsala at the Tibetan Medical College at Mexico to study Tibetan medicine. And I think that kind of even if it's not 6 years course, but a quite intense course on Tibetan medicine, similar to what Dr. Yandun Kelsang is offering at her institute as well, would help, I think, Tibetan students or any students to think differently, to ask different questions, to ask novel research questions pertaining to their medical practice or any kind of an education. I think that's something which any students can benefit from. So there's a few things that I want to share with you all, and Doriano Kesala, you will have my contact. So if anyone want to reach out and have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and all the best for everyone who is participating in this event. Thank you, Doriano Kesala, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Namdullah. Although he could not be here today, we're grateful that he could send the video. The next video we'll be showing is from Norbu Tenzin, who is a physician in the making. So Norbu Tenzin is a current first-year medical student at Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, has conducted research at UCSF with an interest in mindfulness and intervention for burnout in general surgery residents. So let me pull that up.
Hi everyone, I'm Norbert Tenzing. I'm a first-year medical student at Case Western. I grew up in Albany, California. It's in the Bay Area, and it's also kind of how I got involved with Kundi Institute and get the opportunity to shadow Dr. Kalsung. So she's the person who introduced me to Tibetan medicine and integrated medicine, so I'm very grateful to her. I had the chance to shadow her in her clinic and see how she treated patients with things like back pain, anxiety, headache, in a very different way than I was seeing in the Western type of medicine. So, how I see Tibetan medicine's relevance in my current education is I like to draw upon the things that I saw Dr. Kalsung really emphasizing in her own visits, how she would really listen to the patient. It seemed like she was practicing a lot of deep listening, making the patients feel heard and acknowledged. And then also how she would always talk about things like diet, sleep, nutrition, which I think are very important before just talking about like their current treatment plan. And how I think Tibetan medicine can kind of work with integrated medicine is it seems that they're both very holistic in their approach, and they both talk about treating each person as an individual and giving them very personalized care, which I think is great. But I think Tibetan medicine also has a lot of emphasis on mindfulness and things like considering their emotional health and spiritual health as well. So for these reasons, I think that, it's very important to learn about, and I'm excited to keep learning about Tibetan medicine from Dr. Kalsung and through my own studies here. So, thank you.
Yes, I think that excitement has spread here. I'm also very excited to learn about Tibetan medicine. And next, we will hear from Dr. Tidwell. Dr. Tidwell is a biocultural anthropologist and Tibetan medicine doctor who trained both at the Menzikhang in Dharamsala as well as Qinghai University in Eastern Tibet. So, Dr. Tidwell is coming up next.
생겨나면서 자실이 라미수기에 ngimingla rangjung lamo segiye ngi inji gaming di Tony Tidwell any member yondon kasnya ngate katin nangjung di phemen jayegi debe khande chungsung any yakala jay phemen jayedi any phemen jayedi keba khande chungsung kansina ta 당불로 숨 니 표시면제 칸디 갑집든 나나다 피면자네 데니 디주니 다 로림 시방 아바다 냠소 길로 니 종은 높듯쩨모 페나리아디 암도나리아디 소릭로린 피면장다 미트니 침바인 디 건주쪽 까나네 아니 데니 디단념주 디 페면 잠적을이야 ngati 갱어릭바 미릭릭바 버람바디 롭종 제심바인 아니 디 팬윤 컨디션선 디 니가디 순자체니 데니 탱상 아츠디 University of Wisconsin zu글롭도 점을이야다 ngatu Center for Healthy Minds the sam기 추진 대진 리야 ngatu 심주 카레카레 제유리 Any data nyamju ngatu di member number chonga 아리 당 캐나다 남의 아주디 신주 냠두디 제기 춘데데 저 가르치 뭐래 아니 제잔디 갈망아 도드는디 미수인 다 티베 탕바디나니 페멘 자연기 되베 카네스 춘저 슈니나 니 로춘중 유튜브에 로크리아 데베인게 발라 막미 멤버 지레 아니 드니 Lokaria di Detikalia di Asia gi Sogimen di Nyamnya Mambo Tongsra any di june tani are palote kaniata ni simliata chilo sorik are gi chilo sorik tan Asia gi Sogimen nyamdu sungja zacheniana tani supo gi triten kani dang chati tokpa sabachik lenture samsra tani ngalo chuduk yutukalia da Colorado ni payu Colorado ra Colorado YouTube tani konso chok ngachoki lungba di pebari ani di zongdo jiktora ani kon 제가 라티콜이야다 벽이 릭네 벽이 농던 리파 아니 망버지 이게 냠는 테세라 아니 테스 코송 아니 디즈니디 농던 리파 단냠디디 소균기 메녹 카레 춤바이나 디 페트리안디 수포단 셈 도퍼 페트사퍼 유스레 셈네드니 디 페멘장기 도베 탕보디 춤브레 다 갸카르디 표시면세 강 주트고니아다 니 칼리카시 테데디레디 로젠 제디 규시 다른 규시 로젠 제디 갖기 다니디레 칸스나디 아레 기 롭소 체탄디 로젠 제디 갖기 다니디 로젠 체탄시라 요마라 옛날에 당봉이 심리하다 패치디 로즌 제기 로즌 체다 패치디 펜도시를 용서말에 심스라 옛날에 냠냠 티스네 드닝이 문이 지나디 항상 통송 로즌 다른 교시디 로즌 체드가리아다 빼 그래 소소기 냠냠 사투 페나디 네버 유튜브야 야나 맹오 멘자 디 무슨 제가 도주갈리아다 문에디 sabjide 저빼 그래 벤진 제니 독바 사바직 람산 납기레 상기되니 시점디 로징기 로션 체답 항상 믹서셔라레 아니 시점디 다른 규시 디 로션 체딩 갖기 다니디 로션 체당 빼 믹서 통기 아니 땡상아야디 뮤튜네디 자기세기 맹아기 지메기 차장디 갖기 당기 결정체니 아니 단다 파트 양디 네버시티컬이야 양디 멘저 치티컬이야 장마디 뮤트니 펜도디 중용이들라 다 야가기 페멘 롭션 체단 단 푸나네 롭션 체단 할란다 직버리 먼저 장마디 받은 규시디 롭션 체고그리 아니 델친데 좀 페나 통순셀릉 뱅은 네비실릉 단자마 신디양디 단자마디 장마 치부치견디 롭춘 제국으라 얘네들 개발카리 요래 주니나 디 페나니아 디 티즈 네당 페멘간에다 네당 티즈 갸체워라 디 페나 데와 종의 신천 단자마 종결 자마디 페멘기 멘캉 항자에 빼 촉도 몸부 요리라 아니 슬은나니아다 정은 신진 페멘칸 빼 그래 멘칸 첨부샤리 맞죠 니아티 직동 요리 아니 니마 딱바디 고된 칸이다 네바 직동 학sam디 용대기 요리라 아니 제잔디 종실레 이날레디 쟁아 이날레 페나디 달까 멘자 자중 장마디 냠냠 문에 디페 야포 통투이레 아니 제잔 냠냠 사이디 제투 데니디 페나니아 티즈디 냠냠 갸체와 딩사와 티즈디 렌투레 스메두 이날레디 갸카나네디 콘조쪽 쟁아원이라 아니 제잔데니 진납디 믹서시라리 아니 가서 맹게 멤버게메데 저 콘조 항상 냠냠 믹서시라리 아니 제잔데니 사다야디 주다야디 멘저얀디 제디얀디 투무마얀베얀시 안디 렌투레 아니 개바얀디 요리 다 페멘기 카추바 자야기 아니 디가블리아 양디 미리그리파 갱리파 biological anthropology 정도 가블리아디 페니언 카레춤버레시나 디 문이치나 디 갱리파 미리그리파기 첼레디 페멘 남친디 제 당치 디 가저 트든 슈 shuken de zo kare yore di be ding sapo di shen yore ani shetan di sogi menuk then dawa insan dani di senergi dawa ganingi mangbo di shuture ni shetan di penyon di re da phemen penanga neba sitigablia phemen di dashe shutu dani nga yang di gengu ripa miri ripa ki sheyan di gani di shugi yura pena microbiome yana le psychoneuroimmunology yana neuroendocrinology di dawa kangne dani ngi di dashe tsenriki gyuni di mangbo shuture ni di arinanya Canada nanya Europe nanya di neba consultees pendo yungare samgidu pendo chung samgidu kainsina consultees nyamnyun tsenrik dandawe mangwa yore Pimentis konsoshiragi yomara ni sesandi kelchampore ta ngacho di Wisconsin zuru lobde chamalia ngacho di semgi churchen de tsenanya ngacho shimjutso di Wangsa Rigpa Senrikpa Richie Davidson wonere kong ngacho unzin ra ani ding namlia ngacho shimjutso dire 미망리아 건조디 곰갸에 경갸에게 유튜브가리아 춘데다 저 가려 용그래 페나 건조 곰갸에 냠냠 가야 메네나 아니 티즈 페나디 드나니 드나스모야나 드나게 마도디 냠냠 티사니나 데니 투진간에 샘간에 건조 penyon 가리 중요래 딩어서 심지 제요래 아니 데다냠드 어서 연 땡상 툭담 di ngacho di kushla ani anila ani andi nenjaba topo de so konzo di kusha youtube kalia dani tutam ki ngangne konzo di shuiri ra ani konzo di rugimare timabe nyambo dabachi di namtukire ani konzo di samsam di dunachik dunani dunasum shuture ra ani ngacho di wangsari baki tawane ani gengori baki tawane di shinju cheyure di ngacho di konzo chok chengarwone shinju dire ta ngacho shinju shamba di doyuniam di member number chonga nyamdi di sungja cheni di shinju chetikaliata so di doyuniam utikaliata neba mangbachi konzo phemengi member sane de yone ani konzo phemen dane di doyuniam gi nedak kandes gyopoti sangda chsoye di ngacha dakji shimji chewra ani chunde chawade ta chilu sori ki chedap taniana tani doynian thangbo chundigalya tani nimanishu gogire ne dak chatsangdi sawena ta phemen taniana tani nima chupshi madote gogi mare ne dak chatsangdi sangda chsoyena 아니 저디 땡상 ngacho디 chetum da tsane ni peche sani nani ngacho tutopdi ya pugure 아니 심지 샴바 ngacho Europe nania Austria nania di Ratimed nyamanga di Medicine malep kona nga Austria di postdoc burampa gi june dani postdoc shura 아니 di 심지 tatso ngacho phemengi menjo nania di nguchu chore chamo gyuba di khanij chumbare ani setsan nga Austria utikablia di par amdo dan kam dan utsantis chine ani menkang dan menjakang da changtang sacha khasa khala di daga chembe ani gyuba khanij chumbare penati lamen tendon chudak kon zungkang utikaliata di gyuba halam di chesonra ani kon gyakar ma pekona deni kon chorasina rimbeshe di nguchu suru chemo nyamna di tsama lapne deni di gyuni deni amdo dan kam dan utsan chatan di gyuba daran nambare deni kon di gyakar la petu deni gyuba kon mutuni nyamna nambare ani ngacho di gyakar gi gyakar la shube di memba tsama kongi sane di nguchu suru chemo di jangbare ani shetanda so di dortu shuide dire ani kranza tsama sen di tujinang shuin ani kranza tsama phemen di tonan na di da tujinang ani touchday dami shuye
Thank you very much, Tujise. So, how was the condition? Some Cosby. How many Tibetans are here? Raise your hand. How much you understand? Can you summarize it? So there's no translation in English. It's intentional or unintentional, I don't know. We try to have you pain, okay? So she says great, wonderful things. If you want to really know about it, you have to learn Tibetan, I'm sorry. Especially for the Tibetan and Himalayan. So we have our roots, so study Tibetan and look at here. Americans are learning perfect Tibetan and learning Tibetan medicine. So she's sharing amazing her experiences, okay? So I just here summarize, not summarize her talk, but we have a very long, her bio in our website. If you go to the speakers, you can find that. So I just want to let you know this. So you think about, okay, what's the Tibetan medicine for? Why you study? Where can I use it, right? And why should I learn Tibetan meditation? Where should I use it? You cannot use anywhere, right? So now here, she's working in the Wisconsin University. And she says here in her bio, here, she says here, COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, she's a difference in contemplative practice response that assess variation in meditation, outcome as it relates to the gut microbiome profile in Tibetan medical constitutional characteristic. So she's using Tibetan medicine and meditation. So now they're called gut microbiome. It's kind of new in Western medicine. So Tibetan medicine, we talk about our gut is very important. Okay? We say Tibetan, Powa Shinsatarin Mejoso. Powa is our gut. It's like a field to farm. So whatever fruit you have so you have to protect your field first, right? Make your soil fertile in order to get a good crops. Same thing. So here, we're talking about the Tibetan medicine, talk about protect your gut first. That means eat well. Meaning like all the junk foods, right? Just eat healthy food and meditate. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you feel free to walk around, get a work stop station, or feel free to look at the posters. Everybody heard about Tsampa Station. So I hope you see there. Okay, shut up. We'll reconvene in 25 minutes. Game on. What does Sowa Rigpa mean? You look at the screen.
Bro, you're trolling. There's A0. Oh wait, I did. I answered.
Yeah, you can like sit and come in the front if you cannot see the screen. The next question. Okay, Timle is winning right now.
Yeah, you spelled your own name wrong.
True or false? Tibetan medicine incorporates aspects of Chinese and other Eastern medicine.
Bro.
Health is defined as a balance of 5 elements in Tibetan medicine. Wow, that was fast, so people were paying attention. Scoreboard. True or false? The 5 elements in Tibetan medicine are earth, water, fire, metal, space.
I don't know about metal and space. These are like Pokemon types, bro.
I don't think metal was part of the... Lung is a nyepa that refers to the earth element in the body and mind. People who have this nyepa is in excess get angry easily. Who is YouTube Yoten Kongo? Oh no, we're thinking of this is how I started talking now. People who have excess vacuum energy can benefit from
You're a genius.
True or false? People who have a single constitution of Jung are generally creative and open to new experiences. People with 3-part constitution are more likely to perfect. People who are observing saw that the answers were on.
I shut down my phone.
Okay, last question. Men means
Da-da-da-da.
Perfect. So, now we're near the end of our event and are grateful that you are still here with us till the end. So to close the event, I want to invite Dr. Yamdurla again to give a quick remark. Thank you.
Health and healing at your own roots. And for the 3 Kahu winner, I have a coloring papers for you. one page for the root tantra of the physiology and pathology. So I hope you learn that part. The second one, you get the diagnostic treat. The third one, you get the, what is that one? The treatment for methods. So I'm going to pass along for that one. But the future of the medicine for the doctor is not supposed to just pay attention on just taking medications, but looking forward your lifestyle and diet. And I have that quote from Thomas Edison. So you know who is the Thomas Edison, right? I cannot find that slide, but it's coming along. And one last thing I want to share is from John F. Kennedy. So it says, you're gonna laugh at me, but yes, this is one of them, okay? So doctor of the future will give you no medicine, but will instruct his patient in the care of human in diet and in the cause and prevention of disease. So Thomas Anderson, and you're in the academic school, so I try to find something be really relevant to your life. And another thing is the John F. Kennedy says, ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, or for your own community, or from your place where you live. So don't wait until the last minute, waiting for something falling in your lap. Start to act up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina, for those closing remarks. Like how we started, we wanted to end our event with a dedication meditation session led by Geshe Lobsang Lan. Geshe Lobsang Lan.
So thank you very much. So this morning I started with the motivation setting, and then close it with the dedication. This is very one of the very important part of the Tibetan culture. So dedication means whatever you study during this session, so it could be dedicated to benefit really wherever you want to, right? Not only save yourself. So you definitely learn a lot from today, this event. So dedication means whatever you learn from this, gain knowledge that you're willing to share with others. So close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Really meditate and imagine or reflect what you studied, what you learned today. Give 1 or 2 points to take home. Let's take a deep breath in and think about all the knowledge, the healthcare information that you received or gained from today's event. Take a deep breath as long as you can and hold this second. And exhale to willing to share all this knowledge with other people. especially the people who need around you. Take one more deep breath in, and exhale. Imagine that you're sharing all the positive notes with your friends and family members and all living beings. Take a last one. And exhale. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for all the young Tibetans here. So that is for yourself. You know, whoever comes here this morning, I told you, you came here like 11 o'clock, which is the middle of night for you, but you still made it. Thank you, and have good luck for your study in the future. And hope to see you next time again. Bye-bye.
Everyone please have a seat in the front, please.